All right, welcome to Night Shift. Jeff, Sharon, Eric Lopez here with you, and we have got the analyst extraordinaire, former UCF point guard, now of course, he's been working with CBS. He's been working with just about everybody under the sun now. Recently, he has traveled the country covering college basketball, but he is always going to be number 4 in our media guides and number 1 in our hearts. Mike O'Donnell joins us to talk a little UCF men's basketball here on Night Shift. Mike, how are you, man? It's good to see you.
I'm great. What did you just do? That's an intro for me. I'm not that. That's too good, man. That's too good. I don't deserve all that praise, but thank you.
Oh, you're too modest, Mike. You're too modest. It's finally cold outside. Which means it's finally time to head indoors and get some college basketball. And an unusual way for UCF to start this season with 2 exhibition games against 2 power conference teams at Duke and home for LSU. You did the LSU game. I guess the first thing to notice with, 13 new players on the roster. What did we learn about what UCF men's basketball will look like in 2025-26 based on these 2 exhibitions?
Oh man. Okay, so the first thing is, and I firmly believe that Coach Dawkins will say the same thing, in that I don't think what the lineup and rotation is going into the first week of the season is going to be very fluid. I really believe that. I think that's because this is the deepest team that Coach Dawkins has had maybe ever. There's a difference between the team being really deep, and I'm not saying they're a Sweet 16 team, but I am saying that this is the deepest team. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a consistent rotation of 10 guys. I think that's a very real thing, because the way that he wants to play this season is very up tempo. So we saw pieces of that against Duke. I thought they played great in the first half. Obviously, Jordan Burks went nuts and played incredible. I think that might be an outlier game, but I think if you ask Coach Dawkins, we'd love him to drop 21 every time he plays, right? But he certainly brings an enormous amount of energy. But then, he played the LSU game and he didn't play as much in a different role, but Riley Kugel was great. George Field really stepped up in a huge way. I think of it in terms of tiers right now. Riley Kugel is the most talented player on the team. He has a pro skill set. And then there's going to be that second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth guy that each night, each game, you're going to see a different number 2 guy, just depending on how it flows. But I think you could see a lot of pressing, a lot. I think you'll see and last year they were one of the most up-tempo teams in the country, actually. They were 11th in the nation in tempo. So I think they're going to try to beat that this season. I really do. So you'll see up-tempo speed. You'll see some full court pressing. You'll see them try to score quickly, get out and run transition. They're very big on the wings. The front court, I think they're still trying to figure out a little bit. I thought in the LSU game, Elijah Holsaway provided some minutes that I think a lot of UCF fans weren't expecting. John Ball's going to have to be a good shot blocker. Jeremy Femena, I actually thought Jeremy Femena had some really, really solid minutes for them. And at the point guard position, you'll see 2 primary ball handlers. You will see Themis Folks, who is really one of the first true, at least in a long time, he's a true pass-first setup guy. He's not a scoring point guard. He's not, a Darius Johnson, a B.J. Taylor, or Darius Perry. He's not one of those guys. So a little bit different at the point position for Coach Dawkins, first time in a long time. And you'll see Riley Kugel play a lot of point as well. But that's, I think the one other guy that I think that UCF fans should pay attention to is we mentioned George Beal, who's top 5 3-point shooter in the country. Went to the front court, some of the waves of Jordan Burks. Jamichael Stillwell is going to be hugely important this season, hugely. When you're facing those massive power forwards and wings in Houston, Kansas, Iowa State, Texas Tech, he is going to have to be the guy that is going to be the quote unquote, enforcer, rebounder extraordinaire, do all the work, guard multiple positions in the front court. And he can, and he's going to have to. But he could become one of the crowd favorites in terms of physicality, rebounding, toughness. I think UCF fans really relate to that kind of mentality, especially UCF basketball fans. And so he could end up becoming a crowd favorite. But that dude is farm strong. He is tough. I mean, he is big, strong, physical, aggressive, and has an incredible story. He was top 10 in the country in rebounding. He was top 8 in the country in offensive rebounding. Just has great get to his game.
That's really good. And I guess, Mike, the interesting thing that I was fascinated about talking to the players at Media Day is if everybody was told, hey, you got to play defense to get minutes and get on the court. It sounds like that's been even a bigger emphasis after last year where it was arguably the best offense in the Dawkins era. Like, if you look at all the numbers, it's the best in Dawkins era. Yet, defensively, they took a step back and probably cost them a bit in the NCAA. If they would have played maybe at better defense, they make the tournament. How do you see this team this year's identity? Do you see it getting back to being more of a defense-first team, or what do you see the identity from that standpoint?
If you're going to play for Coach Dawkins, you have to play defense. There's no, I mean, he wants to score in the 90s, but there are no excuses for poor defensive efforts. So that's going to be at a premium for every single player. And you mentioned last season with the NCAAs, I mean, they won 20 games. No bad losses. 0 losses in the quad 3, quad 4 range. 0. They just needed probably about 2 more quad 1 wins. And you're talking in that large berth, but that's what playing in the Big 12 gets you. A lot of opportunities and a lot of places to stumble. But defensive identity, though, Elo, there's going to be one, but it's going to be a lot different than the Taco Fall, Taylor Hendricks eras of, elite shot blocking, really great rim protection. Their defensive efficiency, if you will, and how they play is going to be one, I think, from 3-point line to 3-point line is where you're going to see that pressure of trying to cause deflections, steals, quick, long rebounds, forcing, quick contested shots, long rebounds, get it and go, versus grind you out defensively, pack it in, and you're not getting that in and around the rim. His most successful defensive teams, and Coach Dawkins is going to having some of the best defensive teams in the country. When you look at all the metrics from Ken Palm to Bart Torvik to those teams that were great defense, I mean, they were elites. It's not throwing that word around lightly, but it's going to be different. It's totally different. Those teams didn't press ever unless they had to. You're trying to come back. Forcing steals and quick contested shots will be the identity for that. So you have to play it differently. You have to play defense differently, but it is going to be. It'll be different, but if you try to hide yourself in the full court press, you're coming out. You don't have choice.
I wanted to ask you too, along those lines is, despite the, high tempo offense followed by the, let's face it, not so great defense last year, based on what I saw in the exhibition, it feels like this roster is constructed to do a better job of that. And I think one of the ways that we see that is on the back end with the guys in the middle. You talk about how important Stillwell is going to be, I think, as a rebounding force. And yeah, absolutely. But you also have 3 other guys who are at least 6'11", who we saw all three of them in fits and starts in the first 3 games. How key are the bigs in this sort of style of play that UCF is lining up to to play? And what do you expect from Jeremy Fumena, John Bull, and Elijah Hulsaway going forward?
Don't need those guys to score. You need a rim protection. But when I say rim protection, if they're going to play fast and they're going to get out in pressure and they're going to go full court press, and I know that this isn't great for kind of podcast video talk going inside baseball here a little bit.
Oh yes, it is. Give me some of this. This is what I like.
The anchor in a full court press or whatever it is, whether they're man or they do a trapping zone. I think you'll see variations of that. That anchor defensively, it's not about blocking shots necessarily. It's not that John Ball has to be a great shot blocker. It's not that Bolsway has to be a great shot blocker or Fumena. I think Fumena is going to get a lot of minutes. It's the deterrence of an easy contested shot inside of 10 feet, right? And not fouling. You do all that work to force a difficult pass, throw it over top of the defense. Offensive player catches it, looks like you have a clean lane, and then you're swallowed up by, 7-1, 6'11", 6'11". And to his credit, still to this day, when everybody thinks about Taco Fall, you think of the insanely ferocious dunks, and you think of the monstrous shot blocking ability, but nobody ever talks about the amount of shots that he altered. The best thing about Taco Fall was he forced you to take shots that you don't practice. That's really was the bread and butter. That was the secret sauce of UCF's defense. So for Hulsaway, Bull, and Fumena, their ability, when I say rim protection, is forcing you to take shots after the full court press, because that's what the full court press is designed to do. It's not designed to get steals. It's designed to make you take shots that are rushed or that you don't normally practice. And that's where the real juice comes from. And so those guys being elite in contesting shots and being the anchor for forcing shots that you don't practice will be the huge key. But it's also too, Jeff, those guys are really important. But I think if you do look defensively in full court press scenario, you get a guy like Devin Cambridge, who's 6'6", 6'7", can really guard 4 positions. That's one of the differences. And I think, Carmelo Pacheco is one of the best 3-point shooters in the country last season, along with George Beal. Well, Pacheco's 6'5", right? It's not like he's just a shooting guard. Can you just guard those? Like, he's going to be asked to guard 2, 3, sometimes 4, depending on the actual situation. Jordan Burks at 6'9". I don't know if you saw in the LSU game, did you see what Coach Dawkins did? He put Jordan Burks, who's 6'9", on the point guard because D-Don Thomas was incredible at UCF was playing drop coverage, and D-Don Thomas was really kind of picking apart that pick and roll defense. So they switched the way they were guarding it, and they put Burks on D-Don Thomas, who I think D-Don Thomas is going to be a top 4 point guard in the SEC. I think he's one of the best point guards in the country. And Burks did really well in the second half guarding him. So positional versatility as it's related to the wings, I think may be even more important than the bigs in this style of play, Jeff.
That's pretty good, and that's partly why they have the more length too. To your point, that's going to be the key to being a good defensive, getting some plays, getting some turnovers from the length. You mentioned Carmelo Pacheco. We have not seen him in the exhibitions. Coach Dawkins said after the LSU game he was close. Could have him back, right here at the start, really at the season. And he's one of the top 3-point shooters. Talking to the players on this roster, do you feel this team has more perimeter shooting than they've had in the last few years, as far as more options of guys that can shoot and hit you some shots from the perimeter?
Yes. The first thing, let me say you don't have the big shot maker unless Riley Kugel becomes that guy, which certainly has all the talent in the world to do so. But I think, you need you've got guys that can space between Pacheco, who was 4th in the country in 3-point percentage. He's just over 46%, if my memory serves me correct. And you got George Beal, who is also one of the top 3-point shooters in the country as well. You got that spacing. We've seen Jordan Burks have the green light in his ability to shoot three. Riley Kugel's available to shoot the three as well. So you've got guys, you got dudes who can space the floor. And that's going to be a big deal for guys like Kugel who can drive and attack. So you definitely have more options. That comes into the play of the depth as well. I think Cambridge is capable from three. You probably won't see Stillwell. If he's wide open, he'll shoot. But there are more 3-point shooters when everybody's healthy. But that's where, I mean, truly, Fulks is going to have to come into play in a really big way, being the setup guy, being the guy who, he scored 14 a game in Milwaukee. He doesn't have to do that. If he only scores 5 points a game, but he's got 8 assists, that's probably equals a UCF, that probably equals a UCF victory. 2-minute turnovers against LSU. And some of those were unforced. A couple of those were forced, and he'll clean that up. But the 3-point shooting is the unselfishness of folks is going to be there. Having other guys to make sure that extra pass is open in full court press. It's usually not that first look. That first look is when everybody's in scramble mode and defense is closing out and it's panic time because I don't want to give up a three because I don't want to be yelled at in the film session the next morning. It's that next drive and kick where everything changes. And so the 3-point shooting is there. I'll be curious to see, again, I'm not trying to give you a lazy take, Elo. I don't know if Coach Dawkins knows exactly what lineups are going to work because it's so brand new. And you get a pretty good idea after the first exhibition. You get a little bit better idea after the second exhibition. But this is going to be a good, like Hofstra. Hofstra's one of the best defensive teams in the country the last couple of years. A great defense. They were actually, I think they were top 5 in the country in 2-point field goal percentage defense last season. Now, they've got, I think there's only about 35, 40% of their roster back. But this is a good test from a lineup perspective of, okay, you've got shooters. What are you going to do with them? This is a good team to navigate that with.
Yeah, I mean, the schedule, you got Hofstra and Vanderbilt to open. Vanderbilt NCAA tournament team off the bat. So Coach Dawkins not messing around. You're going to A&M later in the season. You got Townsend, who's the preseason favorites in the CAA.
Pitt and Daytona.
Pitt and Daytona. So they're going to learn quick who they are, right, with that schedule there, John, that Johnny has built there overall.
Well, the Florida Atlantic is, I think, the Florida Atlantic's at a neutral site.
Disney,
that's a super dangerous game.
Disney,
Florida Atlantic loaded up. So that's going to be another really good test.
Yeah, and that's the last game before conference play too. Do you see how, when you look at how conference play shakes out, how do you kind of see this breaking down? Because you have that entire month of November and December to do what you were saying, right, Mike? Figure things out, figure out a rotation. Maybe you decide that I'm just going to go with whatever top 5 guys, play the best in practice at that point, right? But once you get to conference play, what do you want this team to have figured out in terms of their own identity?
Can you play fast without playing chaotic? That's going to be everything. I think that's going to be the entire season. Is playing fast is great. Playing the analytical possession game is great and very important. But if you're playing fast just to make a play because you feel like you have to make a play, the best teams in the country that play fast, one thing that they do really well is they choose to take bad shots versus turn the ball over. Because a bad shot doesn't necessarily mean the possession is over, especially in transition, because it's so hard to box out when you take quick shots because the defense is susceptible to everything because of how chaotic it is, right? You just play a scrambling mode and match up. It's with an amazing time to grab offensive rebounds and extra possessions. So that is, I think, everything. If the goal is to play the possession game and to play fast, you're going for the 90s, right? A little bit of, it's not like this, but a little bit of like how Alabama plays. Playing fast, get up and down, looking to shoot the three, looking to get layups. Alabama was really pressed, but they do a really good job of making sure that worst case scenario that they take a bad shot versus turn the ball over. As much as good shots are contagious when you're playing fast, so are turnovers. I've been in that spot before. There's just something, man. There's just something like chemical about it that stuff can really snowball because it gives so much confidence to the other team. So that would be a huge thing against Vanderbilt, against a team like Fort Atlantic, against Pitt, against Texas A&M. Can you play fast without being chaotic?
And that might be applied to a Big 12, which I think is headed for a monster year. Brett Yormark, the Big 12 commissioner, I think on media days, and I think in an interview said, Big 12 basketball right now is the second best league in the world behind the NBA. He may not be too far off. Here's some storylines for those that may not know. You could have half the lottery be from the Big 12, at least 5 of the top 10 players. AJ DeBanza is the big story in college basketball. He's at BYU. They're getting a lot of hoopla. They're going to be on TV a lot. He could be the number 1 pick overall. If it's not him, it could be Darren Peterson, the freshman out of Kansas, who Bill Self has said is the best freshman coming in as a freshman he's ever had, which is volumes, considering who he's had during his time, including Andrew Wiggins, who's the number 1 pick, Joel Embiid. You got arguably maybe one of the best transfer ads in PJ Haggerty going to Kansas State, who was an All-American at Memphis. Houston, oh, by the way, returns a good nucleus of its team from last year, added some pieces with a talented freshman class, and maybe has one of the best point guards in the country in Miles Uzon. JT Toppin returns to Texas Tech. High expectations. He's a potential lottery pick. Baylor has a freshman that is a lottery pick. I can go on and on, Mike. What are you, Big 12 basketball, just describe it. This is a gauntlet, and I think they got a shot to reclaim the best conference in college basketball, which it took a historic SEC year to probably get them off the mountain.
I agree with you emphatically. I'll say 2 things to that. Number one, the Big 12, the top 6 of the Big 12 is better than the top 6 of the SEC or the top 6 of the Big 10, in my opinion. I think a lot of people will say the SEC is still, the best conference in the country. And then so far you're saying a coin flip between Big 10 and the Big 12. But the Big 12, the top 6, I firmly believe is better than the top 6 of the SEC and better than the top 6 of the Big 10. That's number one. Number two, the Big 12 at the end of the season could have the National Player of the Year, the Freshman of the Year, and the Defensive Player of the Year nationally. That JT Toppin could very well end up being the National Player of the Year, number one. Texas Tech, All-American. Number two, it's going to be a coin flip between Darren Peterson at Kansas and AJ DeBanza at BYU for National Freshman of the Year. It might be one other guy that sneaks in there, but I'll just stick to my guns with that. And then I do not believe there is anybody in college basketball that comes close defensively to JoJo Tutler at Houston. I think he is the clear-cut favorite to win National Defensive Player of the Year. You mentioned the top 6. I think, Houston is my pick to win the national championship. I think Houston and Purdue are the 2 best teams in the country. And after just going back to the Big 12, it's Houston, BYU, Texas Tech, Kansas, Arizona. Then I would have to say, and then then we're in conversations of. Let me just step
Iowa State?
back. Yeah, I was going to say Iowa State, but then we're not even talking about Baylor. I will say a couple things to that. I think out of that top 6, Arizona, I think Arizona is going to end up being maybe top 5 in the country in terms of average height. Nobody's talking about them. That is a 100% of all those teams I mentioned are Final Four teams. Nobody's talking about Arizona, and Arizona absolutely has enough talent to win the national championship and win the Big 12, 100%. And nobody's talking about them. I think it's crazy. I also think I think TCU is the dark horse in the Big 12. That's a tournament team. Oklahoma State's revamped roster is completely different. You mentioned PJ Haggerty at Kansas State. Kansas State's roster completely different and better. Utah's in a little bit of a rebuild and reset. Arizona State's roster is on paper better. They actually had the most underrated point guard of college basketball on their roster, Mo Odom. It's crazy. It's just going to be just off the charts, amazing, and I really can't wait. But by the way, also on paper, Cincinnati should have a tournament team. We'll side note. Oh, and West Virginia has the most underrated backcourt of the Big 12. West Virginia got a transfer named Tracing Eaglestaff, who dropped 40 on Alabama and had a 51-point game in conference play, and also got a top 5 returning 3-point shooter in Hunter Huff. It's just incredible, man.
It's ridiculous. And
Man.
like I said, there's a ton of those guys are going to be playing at the next level. I've joked on this podcast that I think there'll be more talent at a Big 12 game than there will be when the Magic host, for example, the Wizards on a game.
They're so deep. Yeah, they're so deep. And you saved me earlier, Elo. Like, I cannot believe I'm really upset that Iowa State has 100% of Final Four roster. No question. They got one of the best point guards in the country in Damon Lipsy. They have one of the best wings in Joshua Jefferson. They were one of the best 3-point shooters in the Big 12 in Milo Momcilovic. Just loaded, man. It's
loaded. Yeah. Well, all right, I got to put you on the hot seat here and this is fun.
Okay.
I think this is one of the fun things in college basketball. And I've seen it already from all the outlets that cover college basketball. The hot topic is, who would you take, Peterson or DeBanza? As far as you had it built, because this is going to be a topic probably for the NBA draft. Could be topic maybe player of the year, maybe freshman of the year. Which side are you on that one?
I'm going to go Darren Peterson because I think he'll have overall more volume and usage opportunity at Kansas. If Darren Peterson doesn't score, I think Kansas it may have some struggles offensively. Like, he's going to have to score a lot for them. For BYU, DeBanza doesn't have to score more than 15 a game. He really doesn't. I think there's just definitely going to be times that he does. The kid's incredible. But we're talking about AJ DeBanza as a projected #1 pick, potential freshman of the year, potential All-American. Well, he's not even going to be the #1 option. That's Richie Saunders, who was an All-American last season. He's a preseason All-American this season. And they also have the kid who was on the all-freshman team in the Big 12 last year, transferred from Baylor to BYU, Rob Wright, who's a top 5 point guard in the Big 12. And absolutely is capable of scoring 15, 16, and 9. Yeah, BYU should average 100 points a game. They really could. There's going to be times where they're just going to blow people out, 100%. So I'm going Peterson specifically because I believe that his usage rate will be higher. BYU is going to use AJ DeBanza a lot. But the usage rate is going to be really high for Peterson, and that is really, really good. We're really, really, really good.
Man, what a stacked conference we got. And so the season starts already this Monday against Hofstra. Like you were saying, Mike, that's a good way to start out. Don't let the fact that they're located on Long Island fool you. Vandy, FAMU, Oakland coming to town along with FGCU to finish out the home season, at least the season within home. Go ahead, Mike.
You know what's so cool? Again, I just want to say, FAMU, that's Charlie Ward, right? Isn't that the new head coach of FAMU?
Charlie is there. He is there with that FAMU. He got honored recently with his jersey. there. Jeffrey's going to double check that while we do that. Mike, you've got
Yeah,
the
he is
call
the
with.
head coach at FAMU.
It's gonna
That's
be
Charlie
this.
Ward.
Yeah,
I'm
Wow.
going to
pretty
make a
cool.
note of this.
I didn't
we gotta-
realize that.
Breaking
How did that
news
slip
here on
under the radar?
podcast today.
Jeffrey, you better have your A game on the PA. for that
Holy
night,
smokes!
Charlie
Well, you
Ward.
better. Well, as though I don't bring my A game, Eric. Yeah,
There you
but
go.
man, what an amazing slate. And by the way, I didn't even talk about the home games in conference that UCF fans are going to see. Kansas to open it up on January 3rd. Cincy, Arizona State, Texas Tech, number 10 in the country preseason. West Virginia, TCU, Baylor, Oklahoma State to finish it out.
First time Arizona plays here, by the way.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So first time we'll
Crazy.
get to see Arizona.
We
Mike,
signed up
before
for
we-
this.
We did. Somebody signed up for it. Mike, tell the audience where they're going to fight, because you're going to be super busy. We always enjoy having you before the year. You're going to be on with Austin Lyon for the UCF Hofstra game, the Vanderbilt game, and among other games there. But I know you're going to be all over the place. So just tell the audience where you are going to, where they can find you this year.
Yeah, I'll be doing the majority of my work with CBS. I think my first game with them is November 11th, I believe it is. That's Cal at Kansas State. And my first game for NBC and Peacock, oh man, really fun one there. It's November 21st. Wisconsin at BYU at the Delta Center. And so that's going to be,
Nice.
I was really excited for that one, because that's like an Elite Eight Sweet 16 game that you get, right before Thanksgiving. Pretty cool stuff. Really is.
The crisp is in the air. That means it's time for college basketball.
That's right.
Mike, thank you
That's
so
right.
much. It's always good to see you. Always good to talk basketball with you. Looking forward to seeing you at the opener for Hofstra and throughout the year here. Thanks for joining us here on Night Shift, man. We'll see you throughout the basketball season, but especially on Monday night.
Thanks for having me, guys. Really appreciate it.